Hola and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Steph. I am a public speaker, coach, and founder of the speaker movement on a mission to empower underrepresented folks to embrace their speaker era, to leverage more sustainable marketing practices, and to essentially embrace a life-first business model while they amplify their impact. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to create your speaker portfolio. We're going to dive into all the different types of portfolio pieces that you could add, whether you should even start with a portfolio or not, because let's be honest, not everybody needs a portfolio to begin with. And by the end of today's episode, you're going to be walking away with specifically something you can take action on that's actually really quick and easy to do in order to grow your portfolio right now. So let's start with the big one. Do you even need a speaker portfolio? Because I don't want you to waste the rest of your, let's say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes listening to this episode if you don't actually need this step, right? I want you to utilize your time as smartly as possible. So to be honest, if you're a public speaker and you're getting started, you don't actually need a portfolio. That's totally fine to start as you are, to start pitching and start building a brand as a public speaker. And you can actually book public speaking opportunities through that alone. Now, if we get a little bit more specific, whether you are a beginner or you already have built a brand as a public speaker, you might still want to grow your own portfolio if you're looking to, as an example, grow as a public speaker. So you want to book more public speaking engagements, perhaps you want to book bigger speaking engagements, or you want to increase the amount of yeses that you're receiving. So you want a stronger brand, right? You want a way to position yourself that gets that immediate yes, as opposed to a couple no's or more no's than yeses, which let's normalize for a second. It's totally okay to get rejected, declined as a public speaker. It's normal. I receive rejections. There's so many other public speakers out there that receive rejections. And a lot of the times it might be that you're not a good fit for that event. And it's okay. The whole point of us showing up to events and doing interviews is for us to be able to add value through our story and our expertise. So if for whatever reason you're not a good fit for that event, we want to make sure that we acknowledge that and that we find better opportunities for ourselves where we're really going to make a difference for this community and the event as a whole. In other instances, you're actually an amazing fit. I have a story to share with you. It was last month where I pitched myself for this local opportunity and I was really excited. Not only because it was local and it would be in person, but I hadn't been doing in-person events in a hot minute. And my pitch was amazing, if I do say so myself. It's one of the best pitches I had put out there. It's just my passion for the topic I was going to talk on, hopefully, and the way that I worded it and positioned the entire talk and how it's going to add so much value to the event and the organization and the community. I felt like it was such a shoo-in and it was going to be a hell freaking yes, you're in, we want you. Like, here's your contract. Like, what's your speaker fee? And unfortunately, I received an email that said, you are not being selected as a speaker for this event. Unfortunately, we're going with somebody else. Thank you for taking the time and whatnot. And I was like, oh my God, like literally in the moment, it hurt a little bit. Like rejection hurts and that's okay. You can get used to it. But at the end of the day, a no is a no and we're human beings and we're going to feel a certain way about that. So I did. It almost felt like a gut punch. I'm like, oh. And then I sat with it and I'm like, okay, am I going to move on and just avoid this rejection and then feel really good about myself and focus my energy elsewhere? Or am I going to do something about this? And I actually recommend that everybody in this position do what I did next. Instead of ignoring it, I went ahead and I replied to the rejection email and I thanked them for the time, etc. And I actually asked if they had capacity, if they'd be willing to share some feedback. And the feedback that I received was so eye-opening and it felt so good because it turns out it's not that I wasn't a good fit. It's not that my pitch was bad. What I was putting forward as a public speaker for my talk for this specific event was actually so good and such a good fit for that community that they had recently done something really similar. So for this event, they were looking for a different angle, a different perspective, a different expertise altogether. So they actually suggested that we keep in touch for future events, because what I specialized in and the perspectives that I could bring to the table were actually touching on multiple topics and multiple things that they wanted to explore going forward. So now, just because I reached out, I built this longer lasting, or at least potential for a longer lasting relationship and more speaking opportunities. So just know that if you get rejected, it's okay. It might not actually be you. It might not be your pitch. It might just be them. And the fact that it's just not the right time. Okay. So let's dive back into whether you need a portfolio to begin with. The answer could be no. But if, depending on your goals, this is literally the next best step for you to start growing your brand and your authority as a public speaker through your portfolio specifically. So when it comes to the different types of portfolio pieces, there's a lot that you can play around with. And depending on what types of public speaking engagements you want to book more of, you will want to select the different types of portfolio pieces that are going to allow you to showcase your brand in different ways based on those goals. Now, I'm going to go ahead and break down some of the portfolio pieces to give you an idea of where you can start and how you can grow your portfolio. The media kit is probably one of the easiest ones. I like to call it a speaker press kit, but I know a lot of folks, especially with the whole influencer world, they're very familiar with the media kit terminology. At the end of the day, it's very similar. It's an opportunity to create a document. It can be 1 page, 2 page. Actually, it's also been called a one sheet. So clearly there's a lot of different ways to refer to this document. But what it is, it's again, a couple pages. It could even be a little bit longer if you really want to dive a little bit deeper. But mine right now, it's 2 pages and it does the job it's intended to do. The job of this press kit is to almost work as a resume. So if you've ever had a job, whether it's part-time working McDonald's, hello, I worked there for like 5 years, or a career in corporate, or maybe a more creative role, you likely would have created a resume in the past already. But instead of making it on a Word document and it being all text-based, the cool thing about creatives, entrepreneurs, and public speakers is you get to have a lot more fun with your press kit and make it more visually appealing. If you don't have that design eye to make it aesthetic and on-brand, you can go ahead and use a template, or you can even purchase the speaker press kit that I have on my shop. I can definitely link that below. But basically, it's such a simple enough way to get started with your portfolio. And there's so many resources out there. Now, when it comes to the press kit itself, like I said, it's like a resume. So think about the things that you would want to highlight as a public speaker in order to give folks the highlight reel of who you are, what you bring to the table. So this can include basic things like who you are. So your name. I would definitely encourage you to include your pronouns. Hello, inclusivity. You can go ahead and include your title, what it is that you specialize in. If you have like a mission statement or a brief bio that you can include there so folks get a sense of who you are and what you're all about. But that's really just the high level bits and pieces of who you are. What really matters is what you would bring to the event as a public speaker. So this is where you get to highlight your expert speaking topics. You can include the topics themselves. If you want, you can have a brief description. Not always necessary, but again, it really depends on your style. And what I want to make clear is these are guidelines, okay? So you get to structure your media kit in whatever way you want, but you can also include testimonials. You can include other kinds of social proof. You can have links to other talks that you've done. And at the end of the day, without going too overboard, you get this 1 to 2 page document that's beautiful, that's eye-catching, and that can very succinctly communicate to the podcast host or the community /event organizer who you are, what you can speak on, and who you typically speak in front of. I think that's a cool connection piece, right? It's like, who's your community? Who would really benefit from your talks and your particular perspective? So that's in essence the media kit. Now, another simple piece that you could add to your portfolio is to create a playlist. I love this because it's also very low touch. Like by the time that this episode is over, you could walk away with your portfolio piece being your speaker playlist. Think about it. If you've ever been interviewed on a podcast, maybe you've done a couple, maybe you've done like 3, maybe you've done 10, 20, and you've done like a huge podcast tour or something like that, then that is all part of your portfolio, because it allows folks to get a taste of what it is like for them to hire you as a speaker for their event or to interview you on their podcast. It gives them a sense of what the experience could be like, what your personality is like, what you actually sound like when you're on the spot having conversations with other people, specifically because these are podcast interviews. They're samples of you speaking and being interviewed and sharing your story. So to add those to a playlist, let's say on Spotify, and then you can easily share it with a link. So every time you pitch yourself, every time somebody's looking to book you and they find your website or they find your social media, they can go through those links and go, okay, let me go ahead and take a couple minutes to tune in and really get a feel for the essence of them as a speaker and a little bit of their content, their expertise. So now they know that you vibe personality-wise and that the value that you're actually going to bring to the table is exactly what their community is looking for. Now, similar to podcast interviews and creating a playlist, you can actually have a sample of you doing a full talk or even just a portion of a signature talk, and not just audio. What I mean is you could record and upload a sample of you delivering a speech. So it could be on your YouTube channel. It could be whether it's something that you record on the spot at home, or even better, an actual recording / sample of you speaking in real life at an in-person event or even virtual event, right? Whatever it is. And to be able to give folks a auditory but also visual sample of what it looks like to just embrace your speaker era, it can go such a long way, because it's not just about the email pitch. It's not just about, hey, this is what I bring to the table. You're fully embodying what you bring to the table. You're really giving people a tangible sense as to what it is that you can do and what you're capable of, which is a lot easier to then get accepted when you do pitch yourself for different opportunities, because they can truly see what they're getting for their investment. Now, this next one is something that folks can more easily or accessibly find on your website, and it is to have your own speaker landing page. I love this one because it doesn't always require you to pitch yourself for opportunities. Maybe a little bit similar to like the media kit, but you can include so much more within your own website. So now every time that somebody Googles, they put up a browser and they're like, all right, public speaker in New York who specializes in interior design, then you will be one of the top searches, obviously assuming your SEO is on point, but now you're searchable. Folks can find you easily when they're looking for exactly what it is that you provide as a public speaker. So it's a lot more organic, and you're now adding an extra stream, if you will, or channel in which folks can now find you, hear about you, and hire you for their next event. The next piece that you can add to your portfolio is a speaker reel. Now, I will reiterate, these are examples of items that you can add to your speaker portfolio. You don't have to do every single one. I have a couple of these, absolutely, but I've added them to my portfolio as my journey progressed, as I booked more speaking engagements, as I wanted to challenge myself to try new things and to go for even bigger and cooler and different opportunities. But for example, as we're recording this right now, I don't have a speaker reel, and I think that's totally fine. So with a speaker reel, really, it's a shorter video that's typically lots of little videos clipped together, and folks can experience, let's say, footage of you speaking at an event. It could be interviews with folks in the audience who heard you speak, so we've got social proof there. It could be more interview style where you get to share behind the scenes of what it's like to speak at an event, and you clip that all together. There could be music in the background. Like, it really depends how creative and how much fun you want to have with your speaker reel. But essentially now you've got this trailer, this promotional video that you can share with folks, that you can have on your speaker page. And it can do a lot of that heavy lifting whenever you pitch or have folks stumbling onto your landing page and going, wow, Like, this is exactly the energy. This is the kind of alignment I want in values and in a speaker and personality for my event. And they go ahead and reach out and book you to speak. Now, I also want to consider the fact that you can have a more indirect and unofficial speaker portfolio. Because think about it, your marketing, your content, that's technically a portfolio piece. It gives folks a look at what it is like for you to speak. It gives folks a taste as to your expertise, your viewpoints, your values, what you stand for, the different perspectives and stories that you tell through your marketing whenever you're promoting your offers or public speaking in itself. So every time you put out a piece of content, that also gets to be a portfolio piece, because folks who follow you or who stumble upon your content, who are looking for public speakers, they could very well hire you just based on your content. So I think that's just a cool perspective, because it goes to show that no matter where you are in your speaker journey, there's so much more that we put out there or that we put effort and time into that could actually be doing the heavy lifting or the work for us, and we don't even realize it. But when you do, when you realize that your portfolio, whether it's like your YouTube channel, your podcast, right? That's your marketing content doing the heavy lifting for you. Your social media content, your profile, your landing page, your blogs, everything that's out there. They're an opportunity for folks to fall in love with what it is that you're about and hire you as a public speaker. So when you open yourself to that possibility, now we've got so many options, as opposed to putting so much pressure on, okay, I need the perfect media kit, and that's the one thing. If I don't have that and it's not perfectly worded and designed and all the things, then I won't book a public speaking engagement. No, you can absolutely book gigs through so many other ways. So with that, think of the small things that you can do to embrace your speaker identity on your social media. How about adding speaker to your title, right? That's searchable. It's right there, front center real estate, so folks can find you, or even if they already know you, they can go, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, you're a public speaker? Cool, noted. Now, the next time they're looking for guests for their podcast, they think of you because they already like you. You already have that relationship with them. It's just now finally it has dawned on them that you do this for a living. You are a public speaker, and you would therefore very likely love to be pitched, to be invited to speak in different ways. Those are the key direct and indirect portfolio pieces that I really wanted to cover today. What I also want to share is a couple like bonus / fun creative ideas. The first one is creating a speaker collab pack. I have one of these, and it has been such a game changer for every time that I pitch myself, but also for when I've actually booked a speaking engagement, because what the speaker pack has is it includes all the information, all the links, all the data that I might need in order to pitch or provide the information that these hosts need in order to feature me as a speaker. So we're talking about your name, your title, your bio, your headshots, your speaker talks, your descriptions and takeaways of your talks, especially if you're promoting them for an event, right? The host, in order to fill that event and to sell tickets, they're going to really want to hype you up, and the value that you bring and what folks can expect when they join and what they walk away with and what they're going to learn. So for you to be able to provide that and not have to spend like 10, 20, 30 minutes every single time being like, right, okay, my speaker information, like I need to craft it from scratch, or I need to find it wherever it is that I wrote it down months ago or years ago. Now we go copy paste here, my social links, my contact information, my headshots, like everything is there. And it has saved me so much time. And okay, fine, it's not your speaker portfolio, but it makes your life as a public speaker so much easier. And you can literally just create it in a Google Doc. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, anything creative, just an easy spot, like an easy document that you can either share with people or that you yourself can go in and just grab all the information that you need. Now, the second bonus that I wanted to share with you today, and it's really helping making the entire process of booking speaking engagements just easier overall. So we're not looking at pitching, we're looking at getting invited. So this is all about creating an intake form, because without having a specific process in place for folks to be able to pitch you and invite you, it's fine. They're still going to invite you. They're going to either send you a DM or they're going to send you an email or try and book a call with you. But if you have an intake form, you're streamlining the process so you always receive your invites for the most part in the same way. So it's easier to track, easier to just go about and take that next step for yourself. But also, you get to collect exactly the kind of information that you would want in order to make that decision as to whether you want to speak at that event or not. You can ask questions around what the event is, who the audience is, the budget, like all the things. So then you can go, okay, yes, no, yes, no. And you can send your rejection or acceptance or book a call if that's what you prefer to do to get a little bit more of a sense of whether it'd be a good fit. And it just makes, again, everything so much easier. Ultimately, you get to pick and choose. Like I've said, you know my style, hopefully by now. There's no shoulds, there's no specific rule book, but there's options. So there's choices that you get to make here. Depending on your journey, where you're at and what your goals are, you get to decide which ones of the different examples that I shared you want to start now adding to your speaker portfolio in order to like really grow and amp up your journey as a public speaker. And then maybe every couple months you go ahead and refine it, right? If you want to share samples of you speaking, every speaking event, you're probably going to refine your speech better. You're going to refine your skills. Your confidence is going to grow. So you might want to update the samples of you speaking, or you might want to update your playlist and tack on even more interviews, or you might want to refine your media kit or your landing page in order to upkeep and make sure that your brand as a public speaker is properly reflecting what you want to be known for and what you want to book more gigs for as well. So if you started from scratch, what I would probably recommend is that you start with a media kit and a playlist. Start there, start small, simple. It's probably one of the least complicated or the ones that require the least amount of legwork, and then go from there, right? Slowly, every couple months or every couple of years, you can keep building and building and building your portfolio. We're actually hosting quarterly workshops inside the Speaker Movement directory where we're going to be doing exactly this. We're going to focus every workshop on one specific portfolio piece, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to share tips, and we're going to spend time actually working on our own portfolio piece. So whether it's putting it together from scratch, or if you already have the piece that we're working on that quarter, you get to update it, refine it. You get to get feedback and our eyes on your content, on your portfolio piece, so that we can tweak it and make it exactly what it is that you need in this moment in order to keep amplifying and growing your brand as a public speaker, booking more public speaking engagements, and just feeling more in control of your journey as a public speaker. So if you haven't joined yet, I definitely invite you to join the Speaker Movement directory. It's going to be a lot of freaking fun. You get your feature, you get the workshops and the community and speaking opportunities that we share inside. Regardless of what you decide, make sure that you go ahead and create your speaker playlist right now, or start working on your media kit and go book more public speaking engagements.